suppose the first question, Prime Minister, is when were you aware of the driver shortage with lorry drivers?
There's been a chronic driver shortage for years. I mean, for more than 6 years, there's been a problem with HGV drivers, and it's a problem that affects the whole world. Darren, it's not just in the UK, it's in Poland, there's even a driver shortage in China. So we need to help the profession to sort itself out. And if you look at the particular issue of fuel forecourts and what's been happening there, I sympathise very much with people's frustrations and people's sense of infuriation that they can't get petrol when they want it, can't get fuel when they want it. But this is overwhelmingly that problem, which is now abating a great deal, is much better. But that problem is a function of demand. Yeah. That's been driven by demand. What we're doing is helping with the supply. But then the long-term issue is what about the whole way the road haulage industry works and the pay, the conditions, the type of job it is.
The reason I'm asking that, but when, and you said for years, that my point is you've been in government for years, the Conservatives have been in government for years, and many regards.
Yes, but Darren,
why do you not see this coming though?
Sorry, the problem is one of demand, and
not with lorry drivers though, and the shortage of them.
Yeah, but the fuel is getting to the forecourts. I think we've had above weekly delivery rates for a while now, above daily delivery rates for a while. It's a problem of that. So the supply side is being fixed. It's the demand side. It's people, very human reaction to what they see on the news, going to fill up. And I just urge everybody to go about their business in the normal way.
Sorry to push this point, but we've known for years, you're right, there's a shortage of lorry drivers in this country. We've known certainly for months there's going to be a really crunch point this autumn, and yet the government seems to just be entirely reactive. Why not recognise that this is going to happen and do something about it?
It's not the job of government to come in and try and fix every problem in business and industry. We have fantastic supply chains in this country. We have fantastic supply chains, fantastic logistics. There is a problem of demand, as I've explained to you, as I've said, which is a very human reaction. I totally understand it. That is now abating. It's going down. People are getting it. The supply is coming in. There's a separate issue, which is the question of the HGV industry, road haulage generally. And what you've seen there for a long time is a kind of so it's been particularly acute in the UK, where we've had a model of running our economy, which has depended very much on low wage, very hard-working immigration, people who've come, some from European Union accession countries, others from elsewhere, who've been willing to do difficult jobs in quite tough conditions for relatively low pay. And what that has led to is a situation in which there hasn't been a real sense of career progression for young people who want to go into the HGV business, want to become road haulers. It's certainly not for women. Imagine it would be if you're a young woman. Would you become a trucker right now?
When you talk about a high wage economy, does that mean earning 80 grand a year as a haulage driver? Earning £30 an hour to pick broccoli? Is that what a high wage economy looks to you?
What we're talking about is
it's happening today in Britain.
If you look at the UK economy, and people voted decisively twice to change this. They voted in 2016 to change it. They voted in 2019 for a new approach, and that's what we're delivering. It's a new economy, a new approach to it. The UK for decades has been relatively underproductive. So if you look at our productivity, there's a terrible thing to admit, but by comparison with France, by comparison with Germany, Italy, America in particular, we produce less per hour. Per worker. Now, why is that? Are we less able? No. The problem is that we're not investing enough in skills. We're not investing enough in equipment or facilities. So look at truck drivers. Look, it's a classic example. You've had a failure to invest in the truck stops. So they're not very. If you're a female truck driver, you're not going to want to live that kind of life.
I suppose what I'm trying to
So
get
that leads to a lack of productivity.
what I'm trying to get is essentially like if you're earning.
So we're now embarked on a new course.
But if you're earning 30 quid an hour to pick broccoli, where's the cost of that going to go on to? High wage economy is good, but at the end of the day, we as consumers are going to have to pay for that, aren't we?
Well, now
there's consequences for that, surely.
First of all, so we're helping the consumer, helping the hard-pressed people in all sorts of ways. We've got a new hardship fund, a £500 million hardship fund, all the benefits that you know. I raised local housing allowance. Housing is a massive share of people's outgoings every week. I raised local housing allowance to help people on low incomes. As soon as I became Prime Minister, we raised the living wage. We've increased support for childcare. But what you've also got to do is when you look at this basket of costs that the household faces every week, you think, so housing, transport, energy, childcare, and so on. You've got to bear down on all of them. You won't. In the cost of housing, for instance,
cost of broccoli.
The cost of food you can hold down in all sorts of ways. You can hold down the cost of food by reducing tariffs, for instance, which we're doing with our free trade deals. But actually, what you also want to do is see the UK producing high quality food at lower cost through modernisation and investment in plant and equipment. And that's why Rishi's super deduction for business is so important. So, and actually, if you look at food in this country, it is actually, for the most part, pretty affordable by comparison with what it was, say, 20 years ago. But then again, I just want to make a very important point about cost of living, with what we want to do. Housing, massive chunk of people's cost of living. It really is. Probably for
mortgage rate could go up.
Probably for you. And most people can't afford. Most young people can't afford a home in the way that people could 20, 30 years ago. There's been a huge change. That's totally wrong. We want to fix our broken housing market, allow people the chance to afford a home. 95% mortgages we're offering, but also reforms to the planning system to enable housing to go ahead on brownfield sites. So housing, deal with the cost of housing, and you'll fix a huge amount. Deal with the cost of energy. You'll do now, at the moment, we're vulnerable to Russian gas prices. Yeah. So what they decide to do in the Kremlin impacts us in the UK. We've got to be much smarter than that. So we're investing in clean green energy of all kinds, and that will help. And admittedly, in the longer term, that will hold down the cost of energy.
Two very, very final quick questions. First of all, should the BBC be around in 10 years' time?
The BBC has been around for a very long time, and
should it be around?
It is a great national institution. I have no doubt that it will be around for a long time to come.
Okay, and just finally, Keir Starmer, of course, said last week that it's not right to say that only women have a cervix. Do you agree?
Look, what I think about this is that biology is very important, but we've got a system now in our country for many years in which people are allowed to people can change gender. We help them to do that. And what I absolutely passionately believe, and I've fought for this for a long time, is everybody should be treated with dignity and respect, and that's what I.
So what would you say to someone who identifies as a woman but doesn't have a cervix?
I would say everybody needs to be treated with dignity and respect, and that's my strong belief.
Prime Minister,
thank you very much.
Thank you.